Everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm your host, John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about Casper and its brand new 4K Steelbook that just came out. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you don't want to know anything about Casper and you're just here for the 4K Blu-ray review, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. So back over Memorial Day weekend in 1995, Casper was released to the world, directed by Brad Silberling. I hope I'm pronouncing that man's name right. This was his directorial debut. He was tapped by Amblin Entertainment, who produced this film. Steven Spielberg himself called him up personally and asked him if he wanted to make his directorial debut film. And it just happens to be a $40 million special effects film, not some small indie drama or anything like that. And of course, it's Steven Spielberg. Who's going to say no to that? The budget of this movie actually ended up being $55 million, but it paid off. It made $288 million at the box office. And one of the people who went to see this movie Memorial Day weekend in 1995 was this guy right here. And this is actually the first movie I can remember vividly seeing in theaters. I'm not too sure if this is the first movie I ever saw in movie theaters, but this is the one I can remember most. This movie has meant a lot to me throughout my entire life. I can remember the movie very vividly, remember that day very vividly. It's, something that was a huge influence on me becoming the movie fan that I am today. I was a very young kid though, so it's not something that probably made a lasting impact at the time. It's something as time has gone on, it's grown on me and how special this film was, because a lot like I said in my Small Soldiers review, I left this movie behind in the 1990s and I never really went back. I would see scenes on in the background if somebody else was watching it, but I haven't sat down to watch this movie in at least 25 years. So it was actually very special for me to sit down and rewatch this last night with my wife, and I was like telling her how certain things in the film mean a lot to me just because there's a hallway in this movie, and I didn't realize I've had dreams about this hallway my entire life. I didn't realize that it just came from this film, from me seeing this film at such a young, influential age. So this movie did mean a lot to me, but how is it revisiting it all these years later? Is this movie a great film that I've been missing out on for years, or is this one that was just great when I was a child and I just have these great nostalgic memories for it? Well, I think it's a mixture of both. This movie stars Bill Pullman, Christina Ricci, Kathy Moriarty, and Eric Idle. I always get Kathleen Turner and Kathy Moriarty mixed up. It's their voices. It's not their names. Their names are pretty similar, but it's their actual voices. They have that very raspy voice. I'm never really too sure which one is which once we get to the 1990s. Obviously, they were probably bigger in the 70s and 80s, but Kathleen Turner was in Serial Mom, I think, in 1994, so a year before this. I just think that their voices are so similar and they have similar looks from the 1990s that those voices do stand out. But like I said, the cast is stacked. You get voice actors. This is a special effects type of film, and when you watch the making of, you realize that this movie was very hard to make. These guys have to act against CGI ghosts that aren't there. They just got to look at their mark, and everybody does a really good job. Obviously, that's something that's very difficult. The CGI effects of this movie, well, in 1995, I never had an issue with it. Same thing with the set design. When they show the entire house, I never had a problem when I was a kid, but you look at it now and it's revealed that it's a matte painting. It's very, very obvious. Could be the 4K Blu-ray's fault, but it's very obvious. These are things that just didn't stick out to me. These were normal back in the day. I mean, a lot of the stuff was normal, and then you watch it now, you're like, that's a little silly. Bill Pullman, he's a guy who's lost his wife, and he's just desperate. He's desperate to reconnect. He was a psychiatrist, but now he's a psychiatrist for ghosts, so he's trying to find his wife to help her with her unfinished business. And then Kathy Moriarty's character happens to have this house that she inherited that happens to be haunted by ghosts, and nobody can get these ghosts out of the house. Not even Dan Aykroyd's Ghostbuster, which is ridiculous. He's got the mustache. You gotta call somebody else. So he's the last resort. It works out for him as well. He's gonna take his daughter, who they bring up in a news program, happens to be a loner. I'm like, I don't think they're going to bring up that a child is a loner in a news program. Just saying. A little quick filler piece, a little puff piece, they're not going to do it. But they do in the movie anyway, so these two are going to go to this big, giant, empty mansion, which they built this set, a 3-story set. Beautiful set design. I absolutely love it. Fooled me my entire life that this was actually a set, which it really shouldn't, but man, just shows you the great production design that went in this, combining it with all the special effects. And they're going to be staying in this house, and of course this house happens to have Casper, the friendly ghost, in it. And he wants to make a friend. He's so lonely. He died at such a young age. He doesn't remember how or remember anything, but he wants a friend. And of course, Christina Ricci also wants a friend, so they're going to become friends. Classic 90s tale. Got a classic 1990s James Horner score in there as well. It all works very, very well. I don't know how they got a lot of these cameos, by the way. Clint Eastwood makes a cameo in this movie as well. It's pretty crazy. I guess they just like, hey, could you do this for us? I mean, it's probably the pull Steven Spielberg, right? Steven Spielberg can get anyone if he calls them up. They'll come and do something for him. And, you know, this movie was a big deal. Coming out over Memorial Day weekend, 1995, you want to check as many boxes as you can. And the movie is a lot of fun. There's also 3 other ghosts who happen to be Casper's uncles. They befriend Bill Pullman, who wants to help him out with their unfinished business. You know, he's a psychiatrist. He's going to help him out, sit him down, and like figure out what their problems are. They become buddies. They become drinking buddies and everything like that, to the point where Bill Pullman dies, and Casper, who had this little bit of juice from his dad, who was going to help bring him back to life after he died, very tragically, that they bring up in this movie, which, you know, I call the father out on Casper's death. If he was outside that long, you're the father. Make him come inside. He wouldn't have got sick and died. It's kind of your fault. You're the dad here. Casper's a 12-year-old child. What are you doing? It is a little weird, though, when she's sleeping and he says, can I keep you? But, of course, again, he's a 12-year-old child. Yeah, he doesn't know any better, but, you know, there is a little bit of creepy stuff in this movie, but it's also very genuinely sweet. You know, they finally have that big dance at the very end. You know, they waste the juice of bringing Bill Pullman back to life, but then they get to have the big dance where Devin Sawa plays Casper. He's not the voice of Casper, but some kid named Malachi, which, you know, Malachi is such a badass, awesome name. But Devin Sawa gets to come out. They get to have that dance. It's like Cinderella, which, what's it called? Christina Ricci's mom brings up anyway. Like, you know, you have till 10 because you're 12. He's like 112. But anyway, besides the point. So he has till 10 to actually see Christina Ricci. They get to have their first kiss, I'm assuming, for both of them, in front of everybody. And then when Casper turns back into a ghost, he scares everybody off, and it looks like everyone's going to be staying in this house, singing and dancing and having a good time. It's a very sweet 1990s movie. Should I have left this one in the past? I don't think so. Obviously, watching it now at 33 years of age is a little bit different than when I was watching it 30 years ago at 3 years of age. So I can appreciate a lot more of this film. I can understand a lot more of this film. You know, it's fun to have that stuff in my memory banks, you know, from when I was a kid. Like I said, it like unlocked a lot of core memories. But it's still a movie you can rewatch now every single spooky season. It doesn't feel like a summer movie. It does feel like a summer blockbuster in the aspect of, you know, obviously all these CGI ghosts and everything like that. And it's a mass appeal kind of film. It's a 4-quadrant kind of film. Everybody can come in and check this film out. Obviously, that's why it appealed to me as a kid, but I can watch it now as an adult, and this will definitely go into my permanent spooky season rotation. I can actually say that it's not just nostalgia. This is just a good film. Not a great film, but a good film that you can check out with family and friends. And maybe you want to pick up this 4K Steelbook or Blu-ray that just came out.
Who are you gonna call? Someone else.
Well, here it is, the 4K Steelbook that I got from Groove for Casper. There was also a 4K Standard Edition, and you know what? The Steelbook really stuck out to me. I thought it was beautiful. Always wondered, do you think that floor is an homage to The Wizard of Oz? It has to be, right? I think they're pretty much the same colors. How can it not be? But anyway, it's a good-looking Steelbook. I have one minor complaint. So lately, they've been doing more matte finish Steelbooks, which I appreciate more than the glossy ones. You know, there's both still fingerprint magnets, but less noticeable on this. But you could have done a little bit of both. Like, you see the yellowing on here? Like, that would have been cool to be glossy because it would just pop off. It pops already. But imagine that, and maybe the Casper font, like a little synced in. There was a lot of different ways you could go for this to be like a 10 out of 10 Steelbook. But either way, it's still a good Steelbook, so, you know, you can't be too disappointed. When you come inside, you know, the good-looking interior art design as well. 2 discs, the old Blu-ray disc, which is just there in silver, and you get the 4K disc with individual disc design in nice black. Looking really nice, in my opinion. I appreciate that. I mean, obviously, blue, black, and white, it's always going to look good, in my opinion. One of my favorite colorways, if you will. That Blu-ray disc, like I said, previously released Blu-ray, so nothing new on there. But your extras, they do actually carry over to the 4K Blu-ray disc, which is awesome. And there's a 47-minute making-of documentary that came out, I'm assuming, on the DVD. But I absolutely loved it. It was great. Learned so much about the film. I mean, this is what they used to do. Like I said, a movie like Casper from 1995. Whenever this movie came out on DVD and they gave him the extras, like, they gave him that. They also gave him a bunch of shorts and everything like that, the bloopers. There's plenty of extras. Not a ton of extras, but to have that making of, that goes a long way. Now, we didn't get anything new. That's kind of becoming the standard now, which, of course, really disappoints me. But I also didn't expect to get as much as we did here. And for them to be packing in the Blu-ray, that's not the standard anymore as well. Universal still doing that. I appreciate that, so it's really cool to see that. And they also gave us an upgrade to Dolby Vision and HDR10. And it's also got a brand new Dolby Atmos track. And how is that Dolby Atmos track? Well, it really impressed me, honestly. It's making great use of your system. This is a movie that has a great score, so of course you're going to hear that James Horner score bumping throughout. It's a very well mixed track. There was one point where something showed up behind me and like it kind of zipped around the back of my head. And I was like, geez, that's impressive. So great sound design in general, but I think that this Atmos track is mixed very, very, very well. Really impressed me. You know, not as good as Master or Commander, Far Side of the World or anything like that, but for a Dolby Atmos track like this, I think if you're somebody who likes Jurassic Park, which, you know, that's one thing I have to point out as we get into the visuals, like the audio and the visual design when it comes to Dolby Vision and HDR10. You can clearly see Universal has like that distinct look that they go for, very similar to like Warner Brothers. You always know which studio puts out these 4K Blu-rays, especially when it comes to the major labels. And there's just a little bit more of a subtlety I'm noticing in Universal. Like this 4K Blu-ray looks to the Jurassic Park scan that came out a few months ago, the new scan of it. So I'm guessing they're using the same exact studio, but I really like that. I think it's, you know, it's subtle, but it's not something that's oversaturated. They kind of keep it a little undersaturated. I could actually use a little bit more color in their 4K Blu-ray transfers, but it's very well done. It's very sharp. It looks way better than the previously released Blu-ray, which actually, you know what? Actually, I shouldn't say way better. It looks better because the previously released Blu-ray isn't that bad. It's just, it's a little flat. That's stuff that really stands out. You know, the grain looks a lot more natural on this 4K Blu-ray. Hey, it's new technology. It's just, this isn't going to hit like those 10 out of 10 levels that many people probably are expecting. I mean, I wasn't, because it's like Casper. You know, they got so many different movies coming out on the same day. Universal, this comes out literally on the same day as the 40-year-old virgin on 4K Blu-ray, Meet the Parents on 4K Blu-ray, and the re-release of Straight Outta Compton on 4K Steelbook, which I picked up because I really like that movie. You guys will see a review for that in the future. But, you know, all these movies kind of were getting the transfer done. All these movies were kind of getting transferred done at the same time, and I didn't expect this to hit 10 out of 10 levels, but I was still really impressed, better than I expected it to be for both the audio and the visuals. And then, like I said, didn't expect that many extras because it's just not something they do nowadays, but Casper got a really good making of documentary back in the day, and you guys really should check that out. It really does add to this entire purchase, which isn't priced that bad. I remember when I got this for on Groove. It might have been $30 the Steelbook and $25 for the standard, which really isn't that bad as well. And Groove will always get it out to you a little bit earlier, so they're always fun. So this was a great journey for me to revisit a movie from my childhood. The first movie I saw in theaters. It was fun. I had a great time. A lot of nostalgic feelings. The 4K Blu-ray I think is really good. The Steelbook is really nice. So overall, I thought this was a great release from Universal. Like I said, not a 10 out of 10, but a pretty damn solid 8.5 out of 10. I can recommend this one. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel memberships, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo, Harvey Scott, and Ben Rondo, you can do that, or you can even become a channel director like Stone Gasman, Nicholas Head, Uncle V, Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, and Kevin Kruger. But of course, you can even jump it up to the channel bankroll members like Mr. Smelly Potato. But if you got no money to throw my way, guys, don't worry about it. I just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.